So Dan Camish starts second on the grid, home circuit. Let's have a look at the full grid then as we get ready for 15 laps, race 1 of 3 here at Croft. Tom Ingram starts on pole position for the second time this year from the qualifying session. Dan Camish with him at the front of the grid. The second row is Mikey Doble, another excellent qualifying effort. And Tom Chilton really happy with his effort yesterday as well, ahead of Dan Rowbottom and Dan Lloyd into Q3 for the first time this year, but with this engine problem just hovering over him. Aaron Taylor-Smith, best of the Toyotas, ahead of Senna Proctor, then Charles Rainford and Daryl De Leon, BMW drivers both, ahead of Ash Sutton, who's gone for the hard tyre. So too has Adam Morgan, 12th on the grid. 13th, Dexter Patterson. Chris Smiley is next. He's also on that hard tyre ahead of James Dorlin. Another local driver, Aidan Moffat, is alongside him. They are both on the hard tyre. So is Gordon Shedden next. So is Sam Osborne. He starts 18th ahead of Stephen Jelly, who moves teams. He goes to the Rocket Racing with Unlimited Motorsport squad. Nicholas Hamilton, his teammates alongside. Row 11, newcomer Max Buxton and Nick Halstead rounds out the grid. Jake Hill, of course, having withdrawn due to this ear infection affecting his balance. He's at home, he's watching. I know he'd love to be on the grid. Jake, get well soon. And also get well soon, Steve Dudman, the man behind the One Motorsport team. Steve has been taken very seriously ill in the last 10 days or so. He's a very competitive man, is Steve. I'm sure he will fight, and he'll be back in the paddock soon. But Steve, from all of us here, get well soon as well. The Napa Racing UK team looks on as the cars make their way up to the grid, and it's looking drier and drier by the second, isn't it?
It really is drying fast, but interesting. Dan Camish was saying down at Tower he had a lot of understeers. It's a sure sign that the track is still quite damp there. The first couple of laps are going to be really feisty and quite tricky.
And again, Dan made that point. There are bits of Croft under the trees, and that's where it'll dry out slower. The drivers on the hard tyre, those with the red circle, the soft are those in whites. There's nobody on a wet, of course. It's certainly not wet enough for that, and it's drying all the time. So first couple of laps might be a bit heart in mouth, but then it's going to be a dry road. But it's what happens in those first couple of laps.
Exactly, and you're right to pinpoint that first corner as a real pinch point. Not surprising, most of the hard runners are all at the back of the field trying to get rid of that slower, unfavourable tyre.
So then, we are good to go. It is round 16 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, race 1 of 3 at Croft. Tom Ingram lines up on pole position. The lights go out now, and a good getaway is made by Camish. Is it as good as Ingram's? However, the answer is no. He slots in behind. Ingram covers off the inside line. Down towards Clairvaux they go for the first time. It's going to be Ingram who leads the way. Camish slots in second. Doble is third. Up to fourth is Rowbottom, and diving to the inside line. A good start made by Charles Rainford. He's been on his toes, hasn't he? And he's got the BMW up on the inside line. Good getaway by Rainford. Ingram dancing the car through the chicane. Chilton's run out wide, has he? Yes, he skips off the road in the background. There's a BMW in strife. I think that was Rainford too, but it's Ingram leading on that one.
Yeah, the car dancing around with not much pressure in the rear tyre. Look, this is where it's quite damp on the braking area up Proctor, up the inside of Rowbottom. But they all got round turn 1 and turn 2 so far.
Nice move by Proctor at his home circuit. The Yorkshireman goes through ahead of the Midlander, Dan Rowbottom, so that puts the Hyundai up one place. But Ingram's building a gap already. Camish getting away from Doble, who is under big pressure again. Senna Proctor looking to try to make further progress before the end of the lap as they stream now through the Jim Clark S's for the first time down towards Barcroft. And there, up on the inside line, Mikey Doble goes down Rowbottom, and Chilton goes past as well. So Doble may have had a moment, and that's what's cost him a couple of places.
Yeah, it was a very even start actually at the front. The front all got away together and managed to slot in the first couple of rows in line with each other into turn 1. So that was fine for them, and they get to the end of lap 1 complete.
And look at the lead gap. It has come right down. Dan Camish closing on the leader. The BMWs getting into each other there. Look, because Rainford and De Leon are together. The lead gap coming down. Camish closing on Ingram. Third is Senna Proctor from 8th on the grid. Really good first lap ahead of Rowbottom 4th. Chilton 5th. Doble is 6th. Then it's De Leon. Sutton is up to 8th. Rainford is next across the line. And Taylor Smith rounding out the top 10. Dan Lloyd's down to 11th. With this engine worry, and it's certainly hampering the pace as he tries to get it to the end of the race.
Yeah, it does appear, doesn't it? This was off the start from Senna Proctor, remember, starting in 8th place.
You see how busy it is ahead?
Yeah, he gets a good launch. He goes to the inside and boxes out the 2 cars in front of him, uses Rainford as a lever there on the inside. Now, we're going to hopefully see what happens to Chilton on the chicane, because he ducked round the inside. Oh, Proctor got a great drive off the corner and forced Rainford and Chilton to go wide. and a good run down the back straight, and we saw at the end of the lap he dived up the inside at Tower as well. So really good first lap from Senna Proctor, who was kicking himself a little bit after qualifying for a track limits infringement.
And there's a battle on, as you can see, for fourth. Rowbottom is under attack from Chilton as they come into the complex. At the end of lap 1, though, Ingram was leading Camish by 0.6 of a second down, still looking a little bit nearer to the eyes. You look here at Chilton, glued to the back of Rowbottom, up towards the hairpin, in 6th place behind them. Edging his way forward is Daryl De Leon, not bad progress, also from 10th on the grid as well, but Robo has to really cover off the attack of Chilton over the line. The lead gap is down, though, it's just over half a second. Camish, fastest lap of the race. Proctor third, bit lonely. Rowbottom heads to the next battle pack, fourth, ahead of Chilton. De Leon, Doble, Sutton is 8th still. Taylor Smith's up to 9th, and down to 10th is Rainford.
Yeah, evidence of a few cars running wide there into the dirt on the exit of turn 1, because there's a lot of mud on the front of some of the cars, including Rowbottom's car. He's got a lot of dirt on the front. Oh, that could be awkward for Nick Hamilton. And that's Doble off.
That's at the
chicane. On the
chicane.
Of the chicane, yes.
Yeah, Mikey Doble has gone around. The reason it could be a worry for Hamilton is that flapping bodywork might be a black and orange flag to get him into the pit lane. Mikey Doble has gone round. Whether he fell or whether he was pushed, we'll come back to. Hamilton has got more damage on the front as well as the back of his car. On board with Doble.
Just got wide on the exit of the chicane, dropped that right rear wheel into the wet. You'll see it coming in. Got an oversteer already, actually, before he even got to the outside of the circuit. Fortunately, the car just gently nudged into the tyres, and he should be able to continue.
And he will be very cross with himself after that. Nick Hamilton has come to the pit lane with front and rear damage, so it could be a long stop for Nicholas Hamilton as the leaders then come up towards the hairpin. Ingram is under attack from Camish. And then third is still Proctor, fourth and fifth Rowbottom, not really shaking off Chilton. Daryl De Leon is closing a little bit on him next in the queue, so it's almost 3 of them now for that 4th place. What about Ingram to Camish? 0.6 of a second, margin stretches. Ingram, new fastest lap. We're now down to a 1:24.055. Every lap is quicker by every driver as the cars get lighter and the road dries.
Yeah, importantly though to note the amount of boost laps available. Neither Ingram nor Camish have used a boost lap yet. Ingram has 2 laps and Camish 3. Proctor behind them has 8 laps of boost available to him. Will he be able to use that and close up?
He'd be anticipating he'd start to use it after the halfway point, where he can almost do every lap as a boost lap. Meanwhile, this is on board then with Dan Camish. That gap has stretched a little bit, hasn't it? Dan still really pushing. Goes now through that Jim Clark. Yes, it's another snap there, but he controls the car. Ingram on this lap, however, is edging away.
Yeah, he's definitely getting away a little bit. That marker post there at the exit of the Jim Clark. Yes, there's another one goes there, about as much use as a chocolate teapot.
Dan Rowbottom keeps at bay Tom Chilton through the second part of Sammy. They go, and then will run up the straight. Track drying out all the time. Right about the front of Rowbottom's car, sort of rallycross style. It's all rather grubby. The leaders are coming into the complex. This is the fight, remember, for 4th place. Chilton all over the back of Rowbottom in that Napa Racing UK canter clean Ford. Senna Proctor a bit lonely in third. He's not making progress yet onto the back of the leaders. It's all very well saving the boost, but the danger is the leaders get away by too much. Ingram to Camish has really opened up though. 1.3 seconds now is that margin. Another fastest lap from Tom Ingram as there. Chilton thinks about another move back on the inside of Robo. Down towards Clevo corner. Can't do it. Who else is moving up the pack, if anybody? This time around, the order remains the same. There you've got Chris Smiley on the harder tyre, fending off Dan Lloyd, so that's for 11th and 12th places. The best of those on that harder, slower tyre, still Ash Sutton. He's up to 7th from 11th on the grid.
Yeah, that's a good performance on the hard tyre, which is about 3/4 of a second a lap slower, albeit in purely dry conditions. There was a lot of talk in the pit lane about car setup. Do they go for a half wet, half dry setup? Look at the dirt on the front of these two. I think in fairness they all went pretty much to a full dry setup, maybe with an adjustment on the brake bias knob in just to tweak it a little bit to the rear at the start of the race, but they'll all be fully dry set up now.
This is for 8th. It's Charles Rainford up the inside of Aaron Taylor-Smith. Lovely move coming down through Barcroft. You've got to be brave to do it there, and you've also got to get up pretty early in the morning to put a move over Aaron Taylor-Smith, and that was Charles Rainford, really incisive, going well. We used to talk about Croft as a BMW circuit, and this is why.
Yeah, very much so. I'm not sure that looked very much like a boost pass to me, because the extra speed he was carrying was huge, wasn't it?
Nicely done, and it's worked for him. Charles Rainford goes through. Now there is Senna Proctor. I just wonder whether Rowbottom might not be a little bit closer to him this time around. The gap is 1.4 seconds, and yeah, Rowbottom fractionally faster.
Yeah, definitely. The two restart Hyundais right side by side there of Lloyd and Smiley.
And as they came over the line, it was Dan Lloyd back ahead. He's been 3 times a winner at Croft in the past. His first touring car win came here, and then remember he did a double, the meeting after his big accident at Upton Park in a Hyundai. So Hyundais have had race wins here in the past, and the team accelerate iteration rather than these restart racing cars. The team new to the Hyundai chassis this year, and now Smiley under attack from Gordon Shedden. Shedden is 13th, having started 17th.
Yeah, clearly there's no problem now with Dan Lloyd's car. The engine worry leading into the race after qualifying doesn't appear to be an issue. Maybe his first lap pace was just a little bit of caution on the damp track, but he's flying now.
Still in the pit lane, Stephen Nicholas Hamilton, and Dan Camish is on a mega lap because he's done, or had done, 2 absolute best sectors. Now the second sector is taken from him by Dan Rowbottom, but as it stands at the moment, coming through the hairpin, it is Tom Ingram leading the race, and he would put himself into the championship lead ahead of Ash Sutton if things stay as they are now. Ingram goes through, Camish behind him, new fastest lap of the race by Dan Camish, and he's closing on the leader. The gap is down to 1.2 seconds.
Yeah, so that was a good lap by Camish, but crucially he used he lost his boost on that lap to do it. So they now have 2 laps each left on boost.
Battle on here. Look, Adam Morgan versus Dan Lloyd. Hard tyre Morgan, soft tyre Lloyd. Up the inside goes Dan, rebuilding his race, and he's going to go through into the top 10. So good move by Dan Lloyd. Goes through in that quicker shod car, the better, softer tyre. Yeah,
the hard tyre is a real struggle. Sutton's still leading that in 7th, which he'll be reasonably happy with, but he's 1.2 seconds behind Darren de Leon.
And there you can see Chris Smiley now trying to get up with Adam Morgan. They are both on that hard tyre, are they not? So it's an even fight, if you like. And Gordon Shedden is right there behind them, and Sheds is on that harder tyre as well. So all running the same type of Goodyear tyre in this race, and very evenly matched coming into the S's.
And the drivers all know what the other cars are on. They have a sheet on the grid that will tell them what the others are on, and the engineers, trying to nip it up the inside there. Shedden tried through that last of the lunges up the inside into Sunny Inn, but didn't quite get it done, and backed out sensibly rather than have contact.
Senna Proctor is being given a driving standards flag for track limit offences, so they're going to start to be careful now, because if they rack up, you're heading in towards penalty territory. Behind this group, 14th is Aidan Moffat there, look, and in the very background, the battle going on behind James Dorlin, I think, has dropped behind Dexter Patterson. Dorlin on the hard tyre, Patterson on the soft. The race leaders have started lap 8 out of 15. It is still Tom Ingram ahead by 1.9 seconds. Ingram has done another fastest lap of the race last time through in this rather elasticated gap for the lead.
Yeah, definitely Senna Proctor's got to be careful. You don't want to pick up a time penalty that will drop him down out of this podium position, because if he finishes on the podium but gets this time penalty, he would still have to go into race 2 on the hard tyre, because it's a penalty not based on his finishing on the road position.
Down towards Tower, there is Chris Smiley. Gordon Shedden right up behind him. This is the battle for 12th place. If you're thinking they're a long way down for 2 quick drivers, well, part of that is down to the hard tyre. They both were victims, though, of losing good laps yesterday for track limit offences. Smiley having to get his elbows out to keep Shedden at bay. It was here a lap ago that Gordon pulled the pin, if you like, and made a really late dive to the inside, heading into the first part of Sunny. Doesn't do it this lap. Up front, meantime, Ingram is still building that lead, it would appear. It was up to 1.9 seconds last time over Dan Camish. There they are, coming up towards the timing line now, and the margin really shoots up 2.6 seconds. So Ingram gets away, doesn't do an improved fastest lap, but he really has stretched the margin.
He has. He's really pulled the pin at the moment, and I just caught out of the corner of my eye a lunge up the inside from Sutton on de Leon at the final hairpin. There it is. De Leon giving plenty of room, and that's moved Sutton up to 6th place.
And of course, he's the best of those on that hard tyre, and that helps for the championship as well. I know we're a long way off the end of the season, but we're at the start of part 2. and people are thinking about the title race even more. So there is the charging Ash Sutton, and of course, if you think this is quick, he's only going to get quicker because he's got the hard tyre out of the way as soon as that checkered flag falls.
Yes, he'll be looking forward to races 2 and 3, and of course the other thing is he gets more boost.
Yeah.
You know, he started this race with only 1 lap of boost, so by moving forward, he will actually gain boost for races 2, because the winner of the race that has the minimum, that'll be Ingram at the moment.
Well, indeed. So Tom Ingram is the leader by 2.6 seconds. There is the Chris Smiley, Gordon Shedden battles. Gordon Shedden, it was, using a lot more curve coming through the Jim Clark S's down towards Croft. Wheel lifting from Chris Smiley as the Northern Irish driver turns his way through. The Scottish driver, Gordon Shedden, looks for a way up the inside. No real gap there, but he's absolutely on the back, maybe in the back of the Hyundai now. The Restart racing car grows in width. Smiley covers off the inside and the outside line. Shedden, though, tries to go around the outside into the complex. The inside line for the next part. Smiley goes wide. Shedden gets up alongside him. Now Smiley has the road come to him, remember, because this puts him on the inside line. And now it's going to be a drag race down towards Clairvaux. And the Hyundai is ahead coming off the corner. Good battle.
Really good battle, really close racing. Shedden might be able to get all the way around the outside. He's trying to go around the outside here, but the Smiley's too experienced to allow that one to happen. Oh, no, they've touched.
Smiley hit the curb, came across the front of Shedden. Smiley off the road. He just clipped the curb, didn't he, going into Clairvaux? It unsettled him and he put him across the front.
You read that perfectly, David. It was that clipping the curb that just moved him across and into the front of Shedden's car. And that turned himself round. That was not Shedden's fault.
And you can see the damage on that right rear corner. Tiny little error, but out of the race, seemingly, is Chris Smiley. And with the car in the gravel at Clairvaux, could we be looking at a neutralisation?
Well, we could be. It's a dangerous spot and there's very little runoff there, so that if he can't get that going, the safety car is out.
So, safety car called, and the cars make their way then to the end of the lap. The safety car is deployed, and that's going to bunch it all up and make a really interesting restart. Yes, there is Chris Smiley's stricken car, and as Tim was saying, there's not much further margin. You can't really leave the car there. If one can go off, another could.
No, it'll make the rest of the race interesting, though, won't it? Just what we want.
Yes.
But Smiley will be very cross. He was very unhappy about the track limits penalties he got in quality. Here we get another run. Look at it. So he's just in front of Shedden here, but Shedden will go to the outside as they approach the corner. He has a small overlap, but he's not really trying to go round the outside. Now watch for this angle. Smiley will clip the curb. That will bounce him across. Ooh. It rather than bounce him off, it slowed him up, didn't it? It slowed him up, and that's what meant that Shedden went into the back of him.
Here it is from another angle as the cars go to Clairvaux. Smiley just touches the curb. It did slightly move him across the front of Shedden, but either way, sad to say, out of the race. And there is a really frustrated Chris Smiley, and that's going to put him, of course, at the back of the grid for the second race of the day.
Yeah, he was, as I said, he was unhappy after qualifying about track limits penalties, but then when he saw the actual evidence, he took it back. So maybe he'll be cross about Shedden, but when he sees the evidence again, he'll think, oh, okay, maybe it was a little bit of me. But yeah, that little inside curb can really destabilise the car.
So the safety car is on track. It'll be our 10th appearance this year of the safety car. Here it is, the whole thing coming through the
here I thought Shedden could get all the way around the outside because of the obligation to leave room on the outside. I thought he might be able to get all the way around the outside, but he didn't. But they were very even down the straight. And as I said, Shedden wasn't really trying to go around the outside. He was just trying to slot in behind. But just watch. Clips the curb, moves out. It's just exactly where Shedden has got his car, isn't it? But it was unfortunate. I mean, definitely unfortunate.
And if Shedden hadn't been there, he'd have just gone slightly offline and made the corner. But because that put him into the path of Shedden, you see the result. Right then, safety car on track. Dan Camish thinks whoopee because the lead gap's going to come down. And because the lead gap comes right down, Tom Ingram thinks rude words.
Yeah, but you know what? Ingram knows he's got the pace on the restart, and I personally think Camish knows it as well. Look at the mud on the screen, but you daren't put the wipers on because it just smears it everywhere, so you've got to live with it. There's no way you could risk putting the wipers on. They don't have washer bottles or fluid to clean it, so it's not worth... you only put the wiper on when it's actually raining, not to clean or anything like that.
And there is Chris Not Smiley walking back with The crowd at Clairvaux having applauded as he got out of the car, but hopefully not too much damage for the Restart Racing squad to sort out. So Chris Smiley getting a good reception as he walks back past the fans, but he'd rather be having that for being on the podium than having this walk back out of the race. So as soon as the car is out of harm's way, we will go back racing. Remember, safety car on track allows 3 as a maximum number of laps to be added on, so we could be up to 18 as the maximum, depending on how long it takes to sort out the incident. And when you're talking around a minute and 20 seconds to a lap, they do come around rapidly. In other words, we may be still eating into laps. Oh no, lights are out, so we are going to be at the end of lap number 12, back racing, and we'll see how far we can get.
One beneficiary of this is actually Ash Sutton, who was 5 seconds behind Chilton, but now be right on his back. Remember the new restart procedure. They can't go when they like. They have to go once they're round the final corner and past the restart line.
And Sutton, is that with a problem? It is. Ash Sutton has slowed right down. Has he got a puncture? He has. The front right has gone down. So Ash Sutton, rather than being helped, is massively hindered. We go racing, and this couldn't be at a worse time because he's got to pit under green flag conditions, not safety car conditions. So Ash Sutton, championship leader pre-race, in the pits with a puncture. That's brilliant news for Tom Ingram. And as the cars come through now, do we need to be looking at the rest of them on a hard tyre to see what they may be doing, or is that just a freak for Sutton?
That is from a curb strike, because it's the right front, it's the left front that takes all the punishment here, but the right front gets caught. When you cut across the inside of the curb, the tyre can get a failure in, so I think that will be from curb cutting on the right-hand side, not from anything across the left-hand side from wear.
Right, he's about to rejoin the race then, so Ash Sutton needs to stay on the lead lap. The car hesitates. He may have stalled it as he tries to get going, but he should be able to rejoin, but he'll be out of the points, and that could well be one of those moments we look at come first weekend of October as pivotal in the championship.
This will definitely be a massive, massive championship moment. Remember, the points were incredibly close.
The car's gone back into the box, hasn't it? The wheel was there. They were having a look under the engine bay as well. Maybe it got a bit hot as well. However, that could have been under the safety car. The leaders are coming up towards the end of the lap. This is Senna Proctor. He's third, and he's still trying to go after Dan Camish, who, of course, finds himself ready to have a go at Ingram through the hairpin, but Proctor is under attack from Dan Rowbottom there, although Robo just drops a length coming off the hairpin over the timing line. It's a 17-lap race now, and 13 are in the book.
Yeah, there's a few corners. This first corner where the right front goes across the inside of the curb, and as it comes back on across the edge of the curb, it's quite a sharp edge, and that's one of the places where you can catch yourself out on the tyre.
Where the gap's opened up though pretty rapidly in a lap and a bit, hasn't it, as the cars make their run again down the back straight, as it were, down towards Tower, which is here turn 6, and that's Ash Sutton rejoining, but now a lap down, so even if people drop out ahead of him, he's off the lead lap.
It's pointless, isn't it? But yeah, very unfortunate. And commentator's curse, just as I was saying, one of the beneficiaries could be Ash Sutton.
So back out he goes. So the only purpose you could argue to go out would be to get the fastest lap, but on the hard tyre, that's not going to happen either.
No, exactly. It is a pointless exercise. He's just going out and checking the car, I guess. But yeah, he'll rue that mistake, I think.
Wouldn't it be awful though on his final few laps if he were to get in the way of Tom Ingram and help Dan Camish out? Wouldn't that be awful?
It's not going to happen, David.
He is.
I know you love a good story and a conspiracy, but it's not going to happen.
He's a long, long way back, I'm afraid, in terms of helping his teammates.
That was Rainford running very well.
Yeah, Charles Rainford coming into the complex. Right, let's go to the pit lane. Lou has news, I think.
Yeah, news on that. Ash Sutton just checked with the team what the problem was. It was basically a glitch with the power steering that we saw them try to push him back and it wasn't working. Glitch with the power steering. They've recycled the engine, cured that issue, so he's on his way again. But obviously, huge amount of time and, more importantly, positions lost.
All right, thanks, Lou. Yeah, so a sort of double whammy for Ash Sutton. The first one was the puncture and then the power steering, Brendan. That was why the car seemed to hesitate, and then it went back into the sort of herringbone formation in front of the box. Have a look at the front of Dan Rowbottom's car. He's still close to the back of Senna Proctor, and I just wonder whether there might not be something stuck in the front. And yeah, you can see something has been scooped up. It's one of those corner markers. Is that going to affect overheating?
He should be okay. He should be okay. There's still quite a lot of air intake there, but it'll certainly be running warm. The temperatures are up at the moment, but he should be okay. It's not like when the grass fills it and it blocks it completely. But yeah, it's one of those corner post markers.
Yeah, and he's not sort of falling back from Proctor, is he? He's still got good pace. He's got a dirty car, but he's still got good pace. Tom Ingram, in the meantime, is rebuilding that lead once more. He's heading up towards the end of lap number 15 as they turn now off the hairpin, heading up towards the line. And there, look, is Dan Rowbottom getting into the back of Senna Proctor, giving him the hurry up, coming through the hairpin. To the timing line they come once again. It is Ingram to Camish now with 1.3 seconds between them and 2 laps to go. Senna Proctor is third, Rowbottom is fourth, and Chilton is fifth. And this is how Dan Rowbottom scooped up the marker. Was going there, look, through Barcroft, or sorry, out of the Jim Clark S's towards Barcroft. So he found it there. Gordon Shedden now driving standards flag, and also Tom Ingram for track limits. So the leader, with a lap and a half to go, has got to be careful.
Yeah, but he can get this home without risking any further track limits infringements, I'm sure. He'll be absolutely delighted. You know, as a competitor and a championship rival, to see your rival have misfortune is great news for you. It's an absolute hammer blow for Ash Sutton's championship aspirations.
So right now, Tom Ingram is on target, it seems, for win number 3 of the season and for win number 36 of his career, and for the championship lead, because not only did he get the point for pole and he'll win the race, he's got the fastest lap point and the lap leading point. So this is the perfect start to the weekend. The fact that Ash Sutton is going to be out of the points is the icing on a very large cake for Tom Ingram as he comes through the hairpin for the last but one time. The end of lap number 16 beckons. Here he comes. Camish is still chasing, but Ingram just now has to bring it home.
And at the moment, it's Dan Rowbottom in 4th place who'll be in the catbird seat for race 2, because he'll be the first car that starts on soft tyres for race 2. As Ash Sutton proved at all part, that's a hugely beneficial situation.
Indeed, and now maybe Dan Rowbottom is perhaps less determined to find a way past Senna Proctor, thinking forward to the rest of the weekend, the rest of the day. He has still got Chilton behind him. Then you can see Darrell De Leon 6th. Aaron Taylor-Smith doing another good job in that Toyota Gazoo Racing UK Corolla. He runs currently 7th. It's Charles Rainford in 8th. It's Dan Lloyd 9th. And Adam Morgan 10th. And Morgan is the leading hard tyre runner. Last lap.
Last lap and a fine drive by Ingram. He's controlled the pace of this race. Camish didn't have anything for him. Tried hard, but didn't have anything for him. Boost didn't play a part in their battle. Ingram also has the fastest lap, which he'll be very happy with. Yep. Good drive by Proctor as well. A podium at his home circuit, fantastic.
2/3 of the podium from Yorkshire as well. Dan Camish for 2nd, Senna Proctor for 3rd, although Rowbottom is catching back up again, but he'd be advised to sit there and get rid of the harder tyre going into the next race. So through they turn, and it's going to be Tom Ingram then to take the championship lead, to take the race win, and the Team Virtue Hyundai then now comes out of the hairpin, heading up towards the line. The team gets ready to celebrate. Tom Ingram wins race 1 at Croft. Tom Ingram wins for first race of the day, with Dan Camish 2nd, Senna Proctor 3rd across the line. Then it's Rowbottom, Chilton and De Leon to round out the top 6. And another really impressive drive by Tom Ingram, winning by just over a second. And Dan Camish 2nd, Senna Proctor in 3rd. Quick word about Mikey Doble, by the way, because after his spin, he did rejoin. That safety car helped him, and Mikey Doble came home 15th, so he got the last point.
Yeah, well done, Mikey. The bit of a damaged car, but nothing too serious, just a bit of cosmetic damage. But he'll be disappointed with that mistake after qualifying so well.
And so looking to the next race, you're going to have Ash Sutton 20th, Chris Smiley 21st on the grid, 2 drivers to watch. But yeah, that couldn't have been a worse outcome for Ash.
No, the only good thing is he hasn't got to do another race on the hard tyre. He's got that out of the way. So he's got 2 races on the soft tyre where he can really make progress. And, well, Ingram's still got a race on the hard tyre, but we saw at Oulton Park he managed to finish 4th on that. What can he do here?
Ash Sutton to win race 3?
Quite possibly, with a favourable reverse grid.
Yeah.
He could salvage something from this day. But He was in 6th, wasn't he? 6th place points, and the hard tyre out the way would have been fantastic for him.
But we know his pace, and we know he's going to be fired up now. So, yeah, Ash Sutton for race 3 prediction. We'll see. Excellent drive by Tom Ingram. The cars making their way back to the pit lane now in the sunshine. The sun breaks through. The cloud is disappearing. Still a little bit breezy, but that's helping to drive the circuit. Busy day of racing here with the Carrera Cup GB and Mini Challenge cars to come, and also the Legends making their welcome return to the total package this weekend. There's Dan Camish then, Second place, best of the Napa Racing UK Fords. He'll be perhaps frustrated not to be a winner, but happy with a good points haul.
Yeah, very happy. You know, he's cementing that third place that he's in such a tight. He was in 2-point battle with Dan Rowbottom, so he gains on Rowbottom now, but he'll know that Rowbottom's going to have that soft tyre for race 2. He'll be on the hard. And you know, I think Dan has struggled a little bit on the hard tyre. Perhaps I'm being unfair in that he's had to race on it when a lot of other cars haven't, but it's difficult.
Well, the race 1 win goes to Tom Ingram. Let's confirm that full result of round 16 of the championship. Tom Ingram wins race 1 of the day by just over a second from Dan Camish, with Senna Proctor taking third. Dan Rowbottom 4th ahead of Tom Chilton. 5th going the way then of the Hyundai ahead of Daryl De Leon in 6th place. Aaron Taylor-Smith 7th ahead of Charles Rainford. Dan Lloyd 9th, and that's another independent win for Restart Racing. Adam Morgan rounds out the top 10 ahead of Gordon Shedden, with Dexter Patterson in 12th. Aidan Moffat finishes 13th. Sam Osborne next ahead of Mikey Doble. Stephen Jelly just outside the points ahead of Nick Halstead. James Dorlin 18th ahead of newcomer Max Buxton, and a lap down Ash Sutton. And 21st, another retirement, Chris Smiley, and also we lost Nick Hamilton as well. So that gives Tom Ingram not only the championship lead, but the championship lead by 13 points. Dan Camish third now, just moving slightly further ahead of Dan Rowbottom. Of course, Jake Hill in for a bad day by no chance to score, seeing that he sadly can't race. Adam Morgan is 6th ahead of Tom Chilton. Josh Cook, another absentee. Well, he's here, but he's not able to race, with One Motorsport stepping down for a couple of weekends. Chris Smiley is 9th, and it is Charles Rainford then who rounds out the top 10. Here at Croft, we are ready for race 2 of the day. It's round 17 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. Tom Ingram lines up on pole position with Dan Camish next to him at the front of the grid. It's Senna Proctor starting third, Dan Rowbottom 4th, the leading driver on the soft tyre. Remember, the top 3 in race 1 must use the hard tyre. Starting 5th is Tom Chilton ahead of Daryl De Leon. Then Aaron Taylor-Smith and Charles Rainford, with Dan Lloyd and Adam Morgan rounding out the top 10. Gordon Shedden's going to start from 11th ahead of Dexter Patterson, and the grid is formed then for our second 15-lap race of the day. Top 3 on that slower, harder tyre. They've got to use it by regulation. It's Tom Ingram on pole position. Round 17 is go. Good getaway this time around by Camish. Good start by Rowbottom as well. Not a major start by De Leon, and again Camish tries to go to the inside. That's covered off by Ingram. Camish tries the outside line on the run down to Clervaux. Rowbottom tries the outside against Proctor. Camish looks for a way past Ingram. Here comes Chilton at the inside of Rowbottom, going in towards the right of Hawthorne. The Hyundai almost up alongside the Fords. They come through the corner, but Rowbottom just stays ahead.
Yeah, Camish very aggressive on the start, but he couldn't find a way through. Both of them making good starts on the hard tyre. Nice warm conditions allowing them to get good grip initially, but they will get swallowed up. Here comes Rowbottom through on Senna Proctor.
And now Chilton tries to find a way past his teammate as well, but it's Ingram in the lead.
And the other one to watch, of course, is Ash Sutton, starting at the very back after a puncture in race 1. The 2 BMWs side by side, De Leon on the inside, Rainford on the outside.
And Charles Rainford just about stands his ground. There's a very rapid Toyota of Aaron Taylor-Smith in the mix as well, just getting up past the Hyundai there. So the BMWs are together. Sutton for the top 6, I would offer you here, given the way that we know he can go. But it's Ingram, Camish, and then Rowbottom. First, second, third. Rowbottom, remember, is on that quicker, soft tyre. Here they come into the complex. Now let's see whether or not Camish makes life hard work for him. This is the recovering Mikey Doble. He was another one in strife in the first race, but look, he's already fallen behind Sutton, who is weaving his way through the traffic. Ash Sutton on the outside of Dexter Patterson there, but he gets roughed up a little bit. Leader over the line. It is Ingram up front, Camish, then Rowbottom. Chilton is 4th, Proctor's down to 5th, De Leon is 6th, Rainford is 7th, then it's Morgan, Taylor-Smith and Shedden 10th, and there's a horrible smell in the air as the cars came over the line. Something is burning, whether it's rubber or something more sinister from somebody. We need to keep an eye on whether or not a car drops suddenly down the order, but there's an horrible smell that will not go away. Leaders are on that back straight, heading to town. This is lap 2.
It's a tyre burning smell that I can pick up on, but I didn't see smoke off anyone's cars unless there was a big lock-up coming into the complex behind us. There's Sutton, puncture in race 1. I maligned him by saying it could have been a curb strike. It wasn't. I spoke to Mickey Butler at Goodyear, and it was a straight puncture from a nail or a screw, possibly from the exit of the Jim Clark S's, where there was a marker that got destroyed by the first few cars through. So I don't think that's there this race.
Now look, Dan Camish is hanging on to that second place, isn't he? He's not just rolling over and letting Rowbottom go. He's made him work for this, but eventually Dan does get up the inside, and again, look, Chiltern tries to find a way through as well. So now Rowbottom is released. He sets off in pursuit of the race-leading Ingram, heading up to the complex. Chiltern's trying to get through, and now Camish becomes really useful to try to block him, but up the inside does go Chiltern, and this is where the Hyundai gets the job done off the corner. So Camish is fourth. It's Ingram, then Rowbottom, then Chiltern, then Camish, the leading four as they come over the line. In fifth place, it is Darrell De Leon. Rainford is sixth, then it's Morgan. Taylor Smith, Proctor is down to ninth, and Shedden 10th.
Chiltern with the fastest lap on that last lap, even with the overtake. Sutton gaining another place there on Dan Lloyd. He's up behind Charles Rainford, so that puts him up into 12th place already.
There's the replay of Chiltern making that move against Dan Camish up the inside, and in fairness, Dan Camish gave just about enough racing room for Tom Chiltern. To say Dan knew he was beat is unfair, but he knows that's a car on the faster tyre, so not making life overly difficult. This is what happened to Senna Proctor. He ran wide coming out of Sunny, and that means that the BMWs go by, and also Adam Morgan was past him as well. Right, for the race lead, Ingram versus Rowbottom, and now perhaps Ingram ought to make that car as wide as possible just to help bring Tom Chiltern back into the equation, his teammate.
Yeah, well, we've seen in the past that Chiltern is capable of winning, but Ingram doesn't put up a fight. He chooses to let through Rowbottom without much of a fight. I think he knows there's too long to go in this to hold off a car as quick. Oh, and through goes Chiltern as well. So Ingram really is not fighting this one. He's now still leading the hard-tired runners, and he'll have Camish behind. There's only the four cars, the first three from race one, and Nick Hamilton on the hard tyre. Everyone else has got the advantageous soft.
So the leaders go by then. Rowbottom to Chiltern, 8/10 of a second. Fastest lap, Darrell De Leon, who is in fifth place in the BMW. He could well be one to watch then as you get the replay from onboard Dan Camish's Ford of Chiltern going up the inside. Huge gap offered to him by Ingram.
Yeah, he couldn't have got any wider, could he?
Right, so now let's see what Chiltern can do about the race leader. The gap between them, 8/10 of a second.
Sutton is up to an amazing 10th place already.
There's something stuck, isn't there, on the front of Dan Camish's car. Looks like a marker may have, or had been picked up. It might now have parted company. This is Mikey Doble's view, and he was in 16th at the start of the lap. That's Sam Osborne ahead of him. Ahead of Osborne is Dan Lloyd in 14th. So there's a whole freight train of cars here coming down through that Kinker Park Croft, and then they break for the first two parts of Sunny.
Sunny in, where the road is heavily cambered, and then Sunny out, where it starts to go uphill. Important to get a good exit up to the complex. Back to the lead. De Leon up the inside of Camish.
And Morgan's going to have a go the other side, isn't he? So this is where you see the cars on that slower, harder tyre really hobbled. So the leader comes through. It is Dan Rowbottom still clear, but Darrell De Leon is having a really, really good push here in the BMW, which looks far more at home at Croft in this race than it has in others. Over the line they go, and the gap's gone up. Rowbottom was 8/10 ahead. He's now 1.2 seconds clear of Chiltern. It's Ingram third, and Darrell De Leon in fourth place. Rowbottom now has done the fastest lap of the race. This is Camish's view, and Camish now sixth.
Yeah, well, Ingram is still up there in third place on the hard tyre, but will surely be eaten into the gap by De Leon and Morgan.
So Rowbottom through Tower, looking for a third win of the season. Chiltern second, Ingram third, and in the first sector of the lap, Chiltern 3,000ths of a second quicker. This is Camish still giving energetic chase to Charles Rainford, but they have switched, so now Rainford is up into sixth. Dan Camish trying to fight back as best he can, but again, it's all down to the tyre. This is Sutton meanwhile, and now Ash has got himself onto the back of Gordon Shedden for 9th place.
Where is he going to pick up? That was the curb I thought that perhaps had done the tyre, that right-hander up through Barcroft, but no, it was just a genuine puncture. The other apology I need to make is that they do have windscreen washer bottles. I said they didn't in race one because nobody was using it, but they do. It's a technical regulation. I'm reminded of it by Sam Riches, but nobody ever uses it because it doesn't blooming work. So De Leon through.
Yeah, up into third place, so that puts him now third overall, third of those on that softer tyre. Let's see what he can do about those ahead of him. He's got 3 seconds to make up against Rowbottom. He's got to make up 1.3 to Chiltern. In 4th place, it's Ingram. He's got another of the Team Virtue Hyundais behind him, Adam Morgan, who's had, what, 3 second places, but no race wins yet this season. He would dearly love to score a victory at his other local circuit, and comes out of the chicane on the back of his teammate. Adam Morgan's car's another one with a rather grubby front to it as they run now for the 6th time down to Tower. This is how we look for the championship right now, with Ingram 20 points to the good from Sutton, but that's just changed because Morgan's up on the inside.
Yeah, and Sutton is still coming through. Plenty of laps left in this race for that yellow and black Napa Racing UK car to come through a few more places. He's not that far behind, is he?
No, indeed. So down they head towards the Barcroft kink. And a black and orange mechanical warning flag now for Nick Hamilton, number 28. So he had flapping bodywork and other damage in race 1. There's something not right with the car in race 2 as the leaders come into the complex then. Rowbottom building the gap in sector 1, building the gap in sector 2. Sutton on the back, you can see Gordon Shedden, and he in turn is, on the back of Taylor Smith now, who in turn is on the back of Dan Camish. Up towards the complex they go, real old scrum of cars. Sutton on the outside line, so he's got himself past Shedden on this lap, and he's got himself past his teammate, so that's going to put now over the line 4th Morgan, down to 5th is Ingram, Rainford is 6th, Sutton is 7th already, and we've still got half the race to go.
Yeah, that worked out very nicely for Sutton. Good racecraft there. Teammate Camish not offering any resistance, obviously, and Sutton and the 2 Toyotas have gone through.
And Nick Hamilton, by the way, has responded to the warning flag and come into the pit lane. Right, so on that lap, Dan Camish was one that lost place. Ash Sutton was one that gained a couple and moves up the order. And there, Tom Ingram now comes under attack from Charles Rainford. The BMW is looking a lot more racy in this second race. I know some of it's down to the tyre, but Darryl De Leon showing good pace, and so too is Charles Rainford. De Leon lapping quicker last time than the 2 ahead of him.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got some pace. I mean, we always know that BMW on soft tyres on a hot day is quick on a rear-wheel drive friendly circuit. So yeah, I mean, they should be quick, and it's just such a shame we haven't got Jake Hill out there as well, fighting in front. Oh, up the inside, that was a good move.
That was Rainford on Ingram. It's for position. It's a soft shod car against a hard. And look who's behind them. Closing in inexorably now is Ash Sutton then in the black and yellow Ford. Race leading Dan Rowbottom goes by, but now the eyes really are on the 2nd and 3rd because Chiltern's being caught by Darryl De Leon. That said, the lead gap is 1.6 seconds and it's only 1 second to 3rd. So 2.7 is where De Leon is off the lead. That was Rainford in replay.
Yeah, and in fact, Sutton tried to get through at the following hairpin, and Ingram put some manners on him and put him right up the curb on the inside.
Now the race-leading Rowbottom has been given the driving standards flag for excesses at the turn 8, second part of the Jim Clark S's. And there you've got Sutton then now charging on in pursuit of Ingram, and he's about to get up the inside and go by. Ingram might make this a bit harder. No, doesn't really, because again it's soft tyre versus hard, and Tom is just trying to get to the end here and take what points he can. It's
also boost against no boost, because by dint of finishing at the back of race 1, Ash Sutton now has 8 laps of boost to use, and of course Ingram still only have 1, so it's a boost as well as soft tyre advantage.
And Sutton has used 2 of his 8 available laps, and he's not done yet as he hustles on behind Charles Rainford. Now Darryl De Leon last time lapped again quicker than the 2 ahead of him, so 2.7 seconds is that margin starting to close. The leading 3 concertinaing again, look, as they head into the hairpin.
Yeah, evidence of that boost is that Sutton set the fastest speed trap on the across the back straight down towards Tower on that last lap.
And now he's on the tail of Charles Rainford. This is the battle going on between Max Buxton and Stephen Jelly a little bit further back as the Toyotas versus Cupra battle continues. Max Buxton up the inside. And that was a good hard touring car move, wasn't it? Got the line.
Get stuck in. Yeah. I mean, do you realise this is 22 years to the exact day that his father, Danny Buxton, made his debut in the BTCC in the Vic Lee run Peugeot?
It's indeed 22 years, although Danny's got the wrong month.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, because we looked it up yesterday and it was July, not August, so brain fade. You said, don't tell my son. I'm old enough already.
OK, you thought it was 22 years to the day. Yeah, we'll just stick with 22 years then.
Absolutely.
And a month.
And the same circuit as well, because it was a Croft debut. Yeah. It's karma for him, isn't it? And Max, getting his elbows out and racing hard. Now, here, let's have a look at Ash Sutton, because he's right there on the back of Rainford, isn't it? As they come down again through Sunny.
This is for 5th place, incredibly. Ingram remains the leading hard tyre runner in 7th. Remember, he managed to pull off 4th on the hard tyre at Alton Park, so a little, not quite so good as that, but still a good achievement. Camish is still in 10th on the hard tyre. Proctor, the other one, start of the first 3 on the hard tyres, down in 15th place.
Here they come, up towards the timing line. Rainford versus Sutton. Through they go, and Ash is lining up to make that move on the way down towards Clairvaux. Charles Rainford, remember, a winner at Brands Hatch. Ash Sutton 4 times a winner this year, tries the outside line. Wide in, tight out, waiting for the road to open up. There is the Ford up the inside, very nicely done.
Oh, the precision of that move to cut back across the rear bumper of Rainford and literally miss it by inches. Incredible precision.
We've had Aaron Taylor-Smith off the road at the complex, and it looks like he's got a puncture. The car's heading for the pit lane. We're looking at Ash Sutton then now. That's Taylor-Smith, but it's the left front that, to my eye, has gone down. He's about to go past our window, so Tim and I look left, and yeah, I think it is a flat.
Yeah, and there's actually evidence coming into the complex of 2 skid marks going into across the grass and across the tarmac. So
right,
he locked up and then had to rejoin from the escape road.
Now the top 3 are now separated by 2.3 seconds. Daryl De Leon is edging closer to Chilton, but he's not close enough yet to really make a move. That's the race leader, that's Dan Rowbottom, looking for a 3rd victory of the season.
And of course, remember, we've got the reverse grid coming up, anything from 6th to 12th place reversed, and at the moment that's 6th place Sutton, Ingram, Shedden, Moffat, Camish, Patterson and Osborne, 6th to 12th places.
Lead gap 1.7 seconds. Rowbottom's lap was a 23.01 and a 23.08 from De Leon. This is on board with Senna Proctor, looking back at Dan Lloyd behind him, so the 2 Yorkshire drivers have got themselves together, heading over the timing line. Senna Proctor, remember, is on that harder tyre and dropping back. Dan Lloyd is on the soft and in 16th, which makes one fear that the engine that he was concerned about earlier on is still not 100%.
Yeah, quite possibly true.
He's got James Dorlin tucked up behind him, another of the Yorkshire drivers. James Dorlin right there on the back of Dan Lloyd. Nick Hamilton, by the way, is back in the pit lane having a pretty torrid race. Proctor, Lloyd, Dorlin, then along that back straight towards Tower.
Proctor, the only one of those trio on the hard tyre, so still doing a good job to stay in front of these.
As indeed, as the cars can bed down through the S's once more. So Rowbottom is on lap 11, he leads by 1.7 seconds. De Leon is still having a go at Chilton for 2nd place, but he hasn't really got there yet by coming into the complex. As there is the fight going on lower down as Sam Osborne goes by in 12th. Chris Smiley up to 13th from the rear of the grid.
And Sutton is passed. Sutton is up to 5th place, so he's passed Rainford.
Yeah, we saw that coming out of Clairvaux,
yeah,
with that nice move up the inside. Looking back from Senna Proctor at the charging Dan Lloyd. Leaders go by, and De Leon is dropping off the back, by the way, now of Chilton. So maybe that top 3 has plateaued. 4th is Adam Morgan, and the gap between Morgan and Sutton, 1.7 seconds. That could yet change. So Ash Sutton started 20th, and he's running 5th.
Incredible job. Incredible job. And he's still got 3 laps of boost left, so he's used it. Wide there goes Proctor.
Well, we were suggesting, weren't we, at the end of race 1 that Ash could be a race 3 winner. He's not quite going to win this one, but he might even be able to get himself near the podium in a masterful recovery. As there you can see the battle along that back straight between Lloyd and Dorlin, and a driving standards flag again for Tom Ingram. As there to the outside goes Dorlin. Dan Lloyd is not making this easy for him. At Restart Racing Hyundai, just about hanging on the position. The leading independent, by the way, is the Unlimited Motorsport Cooper of Dexter Patterson right now.
Okay, so Sutton is 3 places in front of Ingram, so that will help him in the points. And with race 3 to go, he'll be starting in front of Ingram. Unless Ingram actually got the reverse, he could get the reverse grid, couldn't he? And actually end up starting in front of him.
So they're all trying to be in that top 12s, trying to hang on in there. Leader goes by with now 3 laps to go. Rowbottom is very nearly 2 seconds up the road from Chilton, who is now 6/10 only ahead of De Leon. That gap has come down again. Adam Morgan is 4th from Sutton, 1.7 seconds back. Last time around, in fact, Ash Sutton was fractionally slower, but only by 0.003 against Adam Morgan. So maybe 5th is where he is going to end up. But a good drive again, this by Dan Rowbottom. As look here, Lloyd and Dorlin side by side into Clervaux, and Dan Lloyd is having to work really, really hard for all of this. This is for 16th. Dorlin was ahead over the line. Lloyd is ahead at the corner.
Proctor still in front of these two. They're battling, has just given him a little bit of a breather.
That's Smiley on the inside of Osborne. Contact made.
Yeah, a bit of a rough one that. Mikey Doble right behind, had a grandstand view of that one, but hats off to Rowbottom. He's driven a really fine race, took his time to get through cleanly to the front, and then used his pace to stay a cosy 1.9 seconds. Gap fluctuated in front of Chiltern.
To the hairpin he goes once again then, heading now up towards the timing line. So Dan Rowbottom comes through, breaks the timing beam, goes by. There is a big effort being made by the BMW look. So as they come to the line, Charles Rainford squabbling with Gordon Shedden, and Gordon Shedden has got a track limit driving standards flag as well now. So 2 laps to go, and this is Mikey Doble's view, and Doble is 14th, staring at the back of Osborne.
Yeah, Osborne trying to get back that position from Smiley that was roughly taken away from him at the hairpin. 2 laps in which to do it.
So towards Clervaux corner, Cam Senna Proctor. Fastest lap of the race also to Dan Rowbottom, which is, of course, taking a point away from Tom Ingram, and helps Dan to try to get back into 3rd in the championship. He's been in that battle with Dan Camish, hasn't he? But at the moment, with Dan R, the race leader, and Dan C in 10th, this might put Robo ahead for 3rd in the standings post-race. We'll check very shortly because we've got a lap and a bit to go here at Croft. Race 2 of 3. Rowbottom is now over 2 seconds clear. There he is, coming on that run out of Sammy up towards the complex again. From Chiltern on the lights, there's Darrell De Leon, who's had an odd race, closing, dropping back, closing, and he's dropped back again.
Yeah, he has, but good effort by the BMWs in this race. Both De Leon in 3rd and Rainford in 6th have had strong races. So as you say, the pace of the BMWs much better in this race.
And Senna Proctor is being given a 10-second penalty for track limit offences. Now that's quite good news for Dan Lloyd and others, because they'll be able to move ahead, and Dan Lloyd will get himself into the points. So Senna Proctor gets a 10-second penalty. Last lap for Dan Rowbottom, for Tom Chiltern, and there for Darrell De Leon, the top 3. You can see in the background, Adam Morgan still really hustling on in 4th place. And it's Sutton and Rainford to round out the top 6. And Gordon Shedden's had a good run up to 7th.
Yeah, nice race by Gordon. There's our leader, Dan Rowbottom, not a mark on his car. No track limits infringements. So he's going to stroke it home to his 3rd win of the year.
Driving like a completely different driver from that we saw last season, and the confidence is back. He always said he could do it, and now he's being able to focus on his racing and show people exactly what he's capable of. His stock's risen within the team, and here he is then on target for win number 3 of the season. The last victory came at Thruxton, of course, earlier on in the season, and this has been a mighty drive by Dan Rowbottom. He comes then up now towards the complex. It's going to be 2nd place for Tom Chiltern. It's going to be 3rd for Darrell De Leon, and so it's another win for the Napa Fords, but this time around it's for Dan Rowbottom. Last corner, turns his way through the hairpin. The checkered flag is at the ready, and honours in round 17 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship go to Dan Rowbottom. It's a Robo win at Croft. 2nd place for Tom Chiltern, 3rd to Darrell De Leon, and then Adam Morgan is going to be 4th. And look at this for 5th. Sutton and Rainford absolutely nose to tail as they come across the line. But Ash Sutton 5th from 20th on the grid. Charles Rainford 6th, then it's Gordon Shedden. Tom Ingram 8th. They're still battling in this Lloyd and Dorlin squabble. Look, they're going to find, one of them is going to find themselves in the points at the expense of the penalised Proctor. Dexter Patterson has gone through to win the independence battle, and Lloyd was ahead of Dorlin, and that means that Dan Lloyd gets the final championship point with the penalty applied to Proctor.
Well, the reverse grid is going to be absolutely fascinating to determine the fortunes, perhaps in race 3 of Ingram and Sutton, but what a fantastic drive by Sutton from the back. It's always great to see when one of these great champions is backs up against the wall, whether it's Ingram or Sutton, coming from the back. It's always fantastic, and it gives you a measure. Winning off the front is one thing, but really witnessing just how well they come through the traffic shows their real class and ability.
So Dan Rowbottom's winning margin, 1.8 seconds in the end. And of course, with the fastest lap, there's a bonus point for that and the lap leader point as well. So a good bank raid for him. And Tom Chilton, Darrell de Leon for the podium, along with, as I say, the winning independent, Dexter Patterson. But Dan Rowbottom, as I said on that last lap, has always had that belief that he can do it, given the right equipment. And this year, able to focus purely on his racing, and it's paying dividends.
Yeah, and the Napa Auto Parts, Napa Racing Alliance Racing guests, all very happy with that result, giving them a cheer. I think Dan Camish will be happy as well to have finished only 2 places behind Ingram, because that's a really strong performance, and he's in the hunt for reverse grid pole as well.
Dan Rowbottom wins round 17 ahead of Tom Chilton, with Darrell de Leon in third. Fourth going the way of Adam Morgan, Ash Sutton taking fifth, then it was Charles Rainford and Gordon Shedden, with Tom Ingram, the race 1 winner, 8th as the best on the hard tyre. Aidan Moffat 9th, good recovery, and Dan Camish rounding out that top 10. 11th to Dexter Patterson, the winning independent. Sam Osborne was 12th, and the other point scorers Chris Smiley, Mikey Doble and Dan Lloyd. James Dorlin was 16th after that race-long battle with Dan Lloyd, ahead of Stephen Jalley. Max Buxton, 18th, ahead of the penalised Senna Proctor, 20th to Nick Halstead. And Aaron Taylor-Smith, badly delayed with his puncture, was 21st, and Nick Hamilton was 22nd. For the championship then, Tom Ingram, 11 points to the good now. Ash Sutton is second, and Dan Rowbottom is up to third, 10 ahead of Dan Camish. The absent Jake Hill, 5th, ahead of Tom Chilton, then Adam Morgan, Josh Cook, Charles Rainford and Chris Smiley to round out the top 10. Just to explain that Josh Cook is here, but he's on the sidelines. Steve Dudman taken ill recently, and while he's trying to fight his way back to full health, he's just sort of parked the team to one side. But that means that Josh is here driver coaching. Steve is watching on TV and is very, very grateful to the thousands of people, he says, that have made positive responses, both to him and to the team as well, to wish the team well and wish him well as the recovery process starts. Further down in the championship, Darrell de Leon is 11th, ahead of Mikey Doble, then Aidan Moffat, Senna Proctor, Gordon Shedden, Dan Lloyd 16th, ahead of Sam Osborne, then it's James Dorlin and Aaron Taylor-Smith in 19th. Ronan Pearson, of course, no longer in the championship, rounding out that top 20. Aidan Moffat starts on pole position, with Tom Ingram starting second. Third, it is Gordon Shedden, and then Charles Rainford on the hard tyre now is going to start fourth. It's Ash Sutton 5th, a possible race winner, and Adam Morgan is 6th, ahead of Darrell de Leon. He's also on that hard tyre, and Tom Chilton is next. He's on the hard as well. Dan Rowbottom next, again on the hard tyre and on the soft. Dan Camish, 1 to watch, ahead of Dexter Patterson, independent winner last time out, and on the hard tyre. Sam Osborne next, ahead of Chris Smiley, and then Mikey Doble. He's another of the drivers on the hard tyre for this last race of the day. Then you get James Dorlin and Stephen Jelley next up, with Max Buxton and Senna Proctor behind. And then the cars of Nick Halstead and Aaron Taylor-Smith come next. Aaron, 1 to watch, a long way back on the grid rounded out by Nicholas Hamilton then. So, we, at the end of race 1, were musing over whether Ash Sutton could win race 3. Well, from the third row, it's certainly a possibility. It certainly is, especially if Ingram gets held up a little bit at the start. If Ingram gets round the first corner first and scampers away, it'll be much harder. But if Moffat can hold him off, and remember, he's in a rear-wheel drive BMW, should have potentially a little advantage off the line, then it's game on for Sutton, isn't it? I'd love to see a Sutton-Ingram battle. They've both been so fast round here. It's been terrific to see. Now, it was at Croft where Aidan Moffat had a pole position and a win, of course, in rear-wheel drive machinery. He starts on pole position. It's been a really tough season for him, so let's see what he can do from here. He will have 8 laps of boost available, so will Tom Ingram. Ash Sutton, don't forget, though, only has 5. You can see who has what, going all the way to 1 lap for Dan Rowbottom. So Robo now 1 lap of extra boost and the hard tyre. That makes life very tough indeed. It certainly does. Yeah, shame not to have Dan Lloyd on, but it turns out it was a head gasket problem at the end of qualifying that they've been managing through the first 2 races, and he didn't, and the engine was basically gone, and he'd have been on the hard tyres as well for race 3. So better to save it. Right, round 18 then of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship is ready to go. Here at Croft, Aidan Moffat's BMW on pole position, Tom Ingram with him at the front, then you've got Gordon Shedden and Charles Rainford. Watch Ash Sutton from 5th as well as the lights blink out now and we go racing. Should be a good start by Moffat. It is. It's a good getaway by Rainford on that hard tyre as the cars run down towards Clairvaux for the first time. Aidan Moffat has the advantage. Look at Ash Sutton on the outside line already making progress. Moffat and Ingram go toe-to-toe. Ingram right round the outside. There's contact. He's sideways. Can he hang on to a big slide? Yes, he can. Through on the inside line goes Moffat. Rainford up to second. And the save of the day is Tom Ingram. He's down to third. But that could have been a whole lot worse.
Wow, how he didn't get turned around. I mean, he was forcing the issue round the outside. That's dangerous. Moffat didn't want to give way, but if he hadn't been in a front-wheel drive car and able to bury the throttle, he certainly would have been turned around.
Sutton's made good progress. De Leon runs out wide. So Tom Ingram is still there in third place, but he's about to go second. Look at the inside of Rainford, and he clatters his way up alongside. He gets hung out to dry on the outside coming out of the Jim Clark. Gets his down to Barcroft. Here comes Sutton up the inside. He's in the back of Rainford. Charles Rainford on that harder tyre. He's hanging on to second place as Moffat escapes up the road. Sutton clears Ingram. Then he's done it. He's gone by. And now he makes a move against Rainford on the run up to the complex. Rainford defends from Ingram. That opens the door for Sutton. And Ash Sutton goes round the outside. Here comes Shedden on the outside of Ingram. What a first lap. Sutton elbows out, goes second. Now Rainford spirited defence, but it's going to be Moffat leading at the end of lap one with Sutton second, and Ingram is still fighting. Look, he's at the inside of Rainford. Shedden's on the outside, but what a lap by Sutton.
What a terrific lap by Sutton, and what an absolute door-banging first lap of touring car action that was. Ingram must think, what on earth is going on here? He's been roughed up something rotten, hasn't he?
Absolutely, but after all of that, he is in third place, so it could have been a whole lot worse for him, and he's still in the mix. Now, Charles Rainford fourth is on that hard tyre, remember, so his pace won't be as good as those around him. Gordon Shedden's on his tail, Adam Morgan gets out of the draft to have a go. Then you've got Dan Rowbottom, he's on the hard tyre as well. Look, in the next to the Napa Fords, and behind him as they drop down towards Tower is Dan Camish. So Rainford now, cork in bottle. The gap between Moffat and Sutton at the end of lap one, 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, the gap between Sutton and Ingram, well, that's the one we're going to have to watch, isn't it? See how quickly Ingram can catch up, if indeed he can.
Gordon Shedden up the inside of Charles Rainford. Dan Camish goes through to put a place on Rowbottom. Rainford gets roughed up a little bit by Morgan, former BMW racer, of course. And have a look at Chris Smiley, who's arrived on the scene. He now, upholding Restart Racing's honour, is on the back of the Napa Racing UK Ford of Rowbottom. He's almost alongside the Ford of Rowbottom. And off the road goes Camish. Is that way wide? Dan tries to hang on to it. He's back across the road, and bang, there's big contact. De Leon's involved, Smiley's involved, Rainford's off, Osborne's off. Camish's car is in the middle of the road, and we're going to end up with a safety car. De Leon is out, Smiley is out, and Camish, I'm afraid to say, is in the middle of the racetrack. We're going to end up with the race being neutralised. There's debris on the road, and we've got 3 parked cars. There are 2 of them.
Well, Camish got forced onto the grass coming into the left hand of the complex, and on the grass you can't slow the car down. He just speared straight back into the pack.
Yeah, and there is Dan Camish's battered car. And as he came across the road, he hit De Leon. On the outside of him was Chris Smiley. The safety car has been deployed. So that was almost 2 laps of door-banging action, but I'm afraid the second lap has ended badly for 3 of the front runners, because De Leon, Smiley and Camish were all running well. I'd like to have another look at how Dan ended up on the grass, though.
Yeah, I think he just got a little nudge as they were turning into the complex. That's the end of the accident. It all starts at the way into the complex. This is another shot where he's coming back across the grass. It's earlier than that we need to see when they come into the left-hander.
So there is Dan Camish's car, brakes with a little bit of flame.
A little bit of a
tickling.
brake fire from the grass, probably. Hopefully that won't develop into anything else.
Daryl De Leon there is getting out of the car. He was the one harpooned by Dan Camish, and he's the one with the attention at the minute. On
board with Camish, he gets a touch there, and literally he has to bury the throttle to save the slide, and then he comes back across the road.
Some very lucky drivers did squeeze through, and some very unlucky drivers were the innocent victims. Daryl De Leon took a big whack. He's out of the car, he's okay. Dan Camish is okay. Chris Smiley has walked away as well. They'll all go with the Toka medical team for a quick check over. That's part of the course in any incident, large or small, but then you've got to get those 3 cars out of the way, and there's quite a bit of debris to clear off the racetrack as well.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while. That was the little touch just from Rainford. I mean, and you see, Dan actually in order not to spin the car, he accelerates just like Ingram did at the first corner, just to straighten the car up. But then he can't slow it down enough to rejoin safely on the track. But he
Well, we've got Dan Rowbottom in the pits with some damage. We've got Mikey Doble in the pits with damage as well. This is Doble's start.
Yeah, an average start, loses out a little bit to the guys in front. We're going to see a lot of action ahead of him in turn 2 and 3, aren't we? It all bunches up a little bit. He's got James Dorlin on his inside, so he's forced to the outside. Dexter Padson just in front in the rocket car. He's going to have to try and fit in here, or does he abort? Yeah, he has to abort. Look, there was no way to get back in before the chicane, and that's why the tyre stacks have been moved, because of cars being forced into them. That's a good thing. Further down towards Tower, he's still on the outside, still got James Dorlin inside, and then arriving as well is Senna Proctor, who just appears lunging down the inside. Side by side through the Jim Clark S's. That's always dodgy. Doble has a little bit of a run through here, but now we're all pretty much in line. This is the start from watch what happens to Ingram. He doesn't get the best of starts initially, but then he actually picks up a lot of pace. Look, he's actually slightly ahead just there, but he hasn't got the inside. Moffat takes the inside, gives him room, and then Ingram is trying to squeeze across the front of him, but there isn't room. He's not clear. So Moffat did nothing wrong there. That was Ingram trying to get back in line. Now, there we go further back. This is on board with Camish. He gets up the inside of Chilton. He's following his teammate Rowbottom, but remember, Rowbottom's on the hard tyre, so he will not have as much grip. And look, the car's sliding around. In front of him is De Leon, but Camish is desperate to get past his teammate as quickly as possible, take advantage of that quicker tyre. Down towards Tower, Rowbottom is defending, possibly, yeah, so right round the outside of him and De Leon goes Camish, but De Leon gets a little touch, I think, from Rowbottom that pushed him wide. Rowbottom is really fighting, despite being on the hard tyre. He actually does end up in front of both of them. That didn't work out. That was the start of things going wrong for Camish, wasn't it, really? Back down the to Sunny Inn. Camish is now trying ever so hard to get some places back. Ahead of him, he's got Rainford, and he's got his teammate on the hard tyre. Big lunge up the inside into the complex, and then round the outside of Rowbottom. Can't quite make that one stick, but he's got De Leon, who goes right round the outside. Now he decides to follow Adam Morgan. This could work out better for Dan Camish, but still his teammate is robustly holding that position, Dan Rowbottom.
So Dan Rowbottom rejoins after a pit stop, and he's gone a lap down, so he picked up some damage in all of that as well. Dan Camish's car is being retrieved. The BMW of Darryl De Leon, I think, has been cleared, and Chris Smiley's Restart Racing Hyundai, that's had a tough day as well. That has got a lot of damage, and that's being retrieved, I can see as well. So the track is almost clear. The debris has been swept off the tarmac as well, out of the way. So maybe 2 more laps and we can go back racing. Bad news for Aidan Moffat, of course, having tried to build up a gap, and now he's got Ash Sutton and Tom Ingram and Gordon Shedden, then Adam Morgan and Senna Proctor queued up behind. That's Chris Smiley's car being placed on the back of the flatbed. 7th is Tom Chilton, and James Dorlin, 15th on the grid he started, and 8th he runs, so he was able to get through the melee. Yeah, okay, I know a lot of cars were involved in that, but he was also able to find the road opening up ahead of him, and he's made really good progress. Currently on lap 6 then. Let's have another look at it all. This is Dan Camish's view. Gets past Rowbottom here.
That was finally, he got back. This is the next lap. So he's got past the hard-tired Rowbottom. Now, look, there's the hard-tired Rainford, and this is where it all starts to go wrong. He's got much better pace, Camish, but you watch the car, who gets a tap here, there, from Rainford, and that's what puts him wide. So it's, you know, it's the problem of when you start faster cars, or behind slower cars, if you like, because they're on the harder tyre, you get this concertina effect of performance, don't you?
And there you can see the damage down, so poor old Dan Camish having another tough day. But good points in the first race at least. That's of little consolation right now. The best news of all is that all three drivers got out and walked away. It was certainly in Daryl De Leon's case quite an impact. But the other good news is he's sitting on the other side of the car. It's a left-hand drive car and it was a right-hand hit. Teammate Aidan Moffat still leads the way then. Ash Sutton in second place. This is Senna Proctor's start, Tim, on the run down to Clairvaux.
Yeah, he had a great first lap. I think we might be going back to green at the end of this lap, but let's have a look what Senna Proctor does. He's got a nice gap in front of him, so he's thinking, right, I need to build a really good run onto the back straight here. Give myself a little bit of a gap, have a really good run. Doble's going to get forced wide through the chicane because there's not room for two, and that's the momentum, all the momentum Proctor needed to carry on to the back straight. And I think he gets another one down the inside here. Does he send it? Yeah, he gets two down the inside. So that was a really good thinking, race driver thinking of his to use that hang back, get the momentum through the chicane. He picked up 3 places.
And while you're watching this replay, let me tell you, the safety car has just completed that lap, so it's going to do one more, and then we should be good to go back racing. This is Senna Proctor's view on the run then, down towards Sunny. Dexter Patterson is the driver ahead of him, and we've now completed 6 laps of the race under the safety car. We are still, but we should be back racing very shortly indeed. This is Proctor's view heading up towards the complex, and another move on the inside. Avoids contact with the Cupra.
Yeah, I mean, in actual fact, he's in the right place come the next lap when it all kicks off in front of him, because it wiped out several cars that were in front of him. Look at that great lunge by Dorling round the outside. Doesn't quite pull it off. 19th to 6th for Proctor. Obviously with some cars going out, but nevertheless a fabulous first couple of laps for him.
Absolutely right. Safety car in this lap then, so we're going to go back racing, and the car's now turning out of tower down to the Jim Clark S's speed building. Safety car getting faster and faster, and now Aidan Moffat thinking about how he's going to treat this restart and what he might be able to do on the run to Clairvaux to fend off the challenge that is surely going to come from Ash Sutton. Lights out on the safety car, thinking championship if the result stays as the positions are at the moment. This is how we look with Tom Ingram 10 points up on Ash Sutton, and Dan Rowbottom further 77 back, and of course now he is 18th and a lap down. Robo unlikely to score.
Yeah, remember they came into this meeting with Ash Sutton 10 points ahead of Tom Ingram, so that would be an exact reversal, wouldn't it?
But we're not done yet. We're ready to go racing once more then, as the safety car is about to dive for the pit lane. Aidan Moffat leads Ash Sutton, leads Tom Ingram. Gordon Shedden is there in 4th. Adam Morgan is 5th. Senna Proctor is 6th. The green flag awaits on the timing line. He can't overtake until you've got to the line. Aidan Moffat accelerates now up towards the go board, and then he can floor the throttle, which he does now. He gets away, and the cars run down towards Clairvaux. This is where Sutton thinks about making a move for the lead, but also having to defend from Ingram. Look, as they dive down towards that first corner, the first right-hander. Aidan Moffat leads, and he's got away by 3 lengths as Sutton versus Ingram for second place. Rages on.
There's a bit of angst in this meeting already. Oh look, Ingram right up the inside of Sutton, and Sutton has to take through the chicane. He'll say he was forced out wide, but the Hyundai is very quick on the straight.
And Ingram's got the inside line going to tower, and Sutton stands on the brakes. The rear of the car almost lifting there, but Ingram's got the inside line and will go through. Tom Ingram has done it, so he's up to second spot. Sutton's not going to like that. He will fight back.
He'll definitely fight back if he can, especially when the road is not clear for Ingram to scarp away, because he's going to catch up with Moffat, and that will give Sutton a chance to nibble away somewhere.
3 for the lead. Down towards Sunny. Aidan Moffat in the BMW. Tom Ingram in the Hyundai. Ash Sutton in the Ford Focus. And actually Gordon Shedden's right there with them as well in 4th place in the Toyota. So Aidan Moffat's got a really tough ask here in order to repel all of this challenge for another 11 laps, or just under. He comes up to the complex, and does Ingram make a move here? The answer no, but he's got Sutton right up behind him. Now Ingram thinks about a move heading up to the hairpin, but Sutton wants to make the move on Ingram. Tries to get the switch back, but there's contact between Sutton and Shedden. Shedden's turned round. Sutton leads at the end of the lap. What a move!
Wow.
He goes from 3rd to 1st, and there was contact with Gordon Shedden, and Ash Sutton leads at the end of the lap, and that was absolutely brilliant.
That was fantastic, because Moffat defended. Ingram got boxed out to the outside. Sutton went to the inside, but nearly got turned around, but it all worked out perfectly. I tell you what, though, on that last lap, through that corner there, Hawthorne's was a brilliant example of how good that Hyundai is, because he was able to turn underneath Sutton and accelerate at the same time. So the chassis was working fantastically there. People go on about how quick the car is on the straight, but that was a great example of why he comes off the corner so well.
And now we'll see what Ingram can do to reflect that by getting past Moffat, because look, Sutton's getting away. Never mind how good the Hyundai is, that Ford is still a quick car, and right now Ash Sutton leads the way, and he's building that gap because Moffat's defending from Tom Ingram. That's it, Aidan thinks, Ash, you keep defending. This is Proctor fourth, and he's closing up. Now, after Gordon Shedden's dramas, then when he made contact with Sutton and got sideways, he's dropped to sixth behind Adam Morgan, but he might be able to fight back, in fact, on the run to the end of the lap. So, race leader, Sutton, getting away, second, third, fourth, as well.
Well, surely Proctor's not going to do anything to hinder his teammate Ingram's chances, but he's really driven well, has Proctor. It's all worked out perfectly for him these first few laps, but this is Ash Sutton's chance, and turned around in the background is Charles Rainford.
And a driving standards flag for Ash Sutton as well, so Rainford on the hard tyre. Tough race, not getting any easier. Moffat still fending off Tom Ingram, and look now, the queue is building behind Ingram. It's Proctor next up as Ingram again tries to get up the inside. Behind Proctor is Shedden, he's back ahead of Morgan. Then you've got Chilton, and you can see that car coming through as that Stephen Jelly in the gravel at Clairvaux corner. He's just about got the momentum to dig his way out the other side. But all of this great defence for second place by Moffat is playing into the hands of Sutton. Look, he's nearly at Knock Hill, he's that far up the road.
Yeah, but this race is not over yet, believe me, but this is a great opportunity. And, I mean, Ingram's been sort of so roughed up already, he's probably thinking, I've got to be really careful here not to take a risk, because Moffat could easily defend to the extent that I have to go off. He doesn't want to risk going off. This was how it all panned out. Watch Sutton. Dives up the inside there, gets tagged by Shedden, because Shedden doesn't expect him to come, and somehow it just works out that he comes out in front.
But does he have a charmed life or what? I mean, there's contact, and it's Shedden that came off worse. That was Rainford getting turned around, and he drops to the back of the pack. So, Ash Sutton still leads the way, and he's trying to build that gap over Aidan Moffat. 10 laps are in the book out of the 18. He's 1.4 seconds up the road right now over Moffat, who is defending well from Ingram. Then it's Proctor, then it's Shedden, then it's Morgan. And in seventh is Chilton, and he's the leading car on the hard tyre. And there is Ingram up the inside. He's going to go through surely now for second place. No, Moffat able to fend him off. Good defence.
Well, the rear-wheel drive BMW can actually use its traction very well through that acceleration zone on a corner. Surely Proctor's not going to have a go here, is he? Surely he's looking down the inside. He wants a piece of this. Come on, Senna. Go for it, my lad. You're in there to look after yourself. He's going to be side by side through the chicane. He's done it! Fantastic. Local boy comes good, or what?
And that helps Tom Ingram not one jot in the championship, because that takes more points away from him against Ash Sutton. So Senna Proctor going well, gains the place. That was not in the Ingram game plan at all. So Tom Ingram in fourth place now. Senna Proctor comes up to have a go at Aidan Moffat.
But at the end of the day, Senna Proctor is here to race for his own career, for his own sponsors, and boy, doesn't that look good on his CV when he shows that to people, that he can pass champion Tom Ingram. Now he's got to work out and see if he can find a way past Moffat that Ingram couldn't.
But at the same time, he's got to keep Ingram behind him. Assuming Tom's car has the pace after being roughed up on the first couple of laps, then he will be back on the tail of Proctor. In fifth, it is Shedden, it's Morgan in sixth. Now, seventh is Sam Osborne. 8th is Chilton ahead of Taylor Smith. They're on the hard tyre, and 10th is James Dorlin, who's dropped back a little bit. But as they round Clairvaux, there you can see the Toyotas battling with Dexter Patterson's Cupra, and Dorlin got a problem because he runs very wide and slows.
Yeah, looks like he may have a left front problem. This is on board with Proctor trying to tee up Moffat. Look, he'll cut back. He's going to try and do this run round the outside into the S's. Depends on who's got boost and who hasn't, but he hasn't got enough speed off the corner this time.
Tom Ingram fourth. He's done the fastest lap of the race, but right now he's waiting for this to end in tears in front of him. But Sutton just disappearing up the road. Here comes Proctor then. Third generation racer from the Proctor family. A great heritage at Croft from grandfather Tony's rallycross days through his dad Mark's racing, and now Senna looking for a podium here. He's on the back of Moffat, and they run to the complex. Once again, Moffat with a big dive up the inside, makes contact with Moffat, who's all crossed up. He's on the grass, and that was down to Proctor. That was contact, and Moffat gets back towards the circuit, hemorrhaging places. And now Tom Ingram is under attack from Shedden. Look, as he also tries to attack Senna Proctor, but that one was on Senna.
Yeah, that was a little bit too late. And, it's a dive, but he doesn't get alongside. Look, he taps the rear quarter of Moffat, so that was a bit of a mistake there, Senna. It's a shame to do that after a fine drive, and it's a shame for Moffat because he had driven a resolute defence. I have to say, Ash Sutton has not got that far up the road, considering how much defence Moffat has been putting up.
James Dorling's just come into the pit lane. We were concerned about the car earlier. Right, here comes Ingram then on the lights to try to have a go at Senna Proctor. He makes a look up the inside, but it wasn't a full move. But he's mindful that he needs to get on with the programme because Gordon Shedden, having a really good run, is there in 4th place. The Alton Park Race 3 winner. In 5th spot, it's Adam Morgan, and down to 6th, it's Moffat. Right, the Hyundais at wall now, nose to tail as they flick through the S's, and that's James Dorling in the pits.
Well, tradition dictates that Scottish driver wins the race before Knockhill to bring in the crowds, doesn't it? Now, Gordon Shedden managed to win the 3rd race at Alton Park, but he's a tough ask to win this one.
Yeah, all eyes then on
Moffat was going to be the one, wasn't he, to bring the Scottish crowds in, but that's been derailed.
That's gone, so it's all eyes on Ash McSutton, is it now, to try and help them out. So there you've got Proctor versus Ingram, who's going to have a go on the inside, heading into the hairpin. Door opens for him, Ingram up to 2nd place, nicely done. So Tom Ingram, who was way back in 4th, relatively way back, now up into 2nd place, and the fight back continues. I don't suspect he's going to get close enough to attack Sutton, but he's thinking points now. Don't forget, he's got the fastest lap point as well at the moment as he goes through Clairvaux. Down to 3rd is Proctor, 4th Shedden, Morgan 5th, Moffat 6th.
This is the move. I feel like Ingram's got a bit more front tyre under him, and he just launched it up the inside. This time Proctor, probably feeling a little bit guilty after the Moffat incident, decides not to make any more of it as Nicholas Hamilton retires again into the pit lane, or comes in. What a disastrous weekend it's been for him. Well, if this is the way it finishes, and you told people that Ash Sutton will run 1 race 3 from Ingram, they'd think that was fairly standard, but it doesn't tell half the story of the race, how it's unfolded, does it?
No, nor the day, really, with Ash not scoring a single point with that puncture and power steering dramas in race 1. Senna Proctor may not yet have booked that place on the podium because Gordon Shedden wants to find a way past him, and Gordon Shedden, finding good pace in that Toyota, is racing hard right now. There are driving standards flags being fluttered for Sam Osborne and Aaron Taylor-Smith. Osborne is 7th, Taylor-Smith is 9th. And there, look, with a cone stuck in the front of the car, is Charles Rainford. And he's still pressing on. Yeah,
how on earth that shows the radiators are not where they'd be in a conventional car, because that cone would have gone straight through it.
Possibly letting in more air with that funnel shape. Anyway, over the timing line goes Shedden. He's on the back of Proctor. Now, the gap between Sutton and Ingram came down last time. It's 2.3 seconds. We've got 4 laps to go. Tom's going to run out of time, but he is heading in the right direction. This will tell us, I think, how Charles Rainford got in touch with the Cones hotline. He was squabbling, as you can see, with Nick Halstead, who flicks the cone, and you could not have done that in a movie.
I'll tell you what, Luke Littler would have been happy with that one, wouldn't he?
What a shot, what a throw.
Mind you, does that constitute a Ram Air system now? Is that, I'm not sure if that's within Total's route. On board with Mikey Doble in 11th place. Back to commentating, David.
Down towards the right-hand of tower they come, and that's Ingram, and that is Gordon Shedden. The rest of the pack go through. Now, as far as the race leader is concerned, Sutton, Ingram, Proctor, that is the order. Shedden 4th, Morgan 5th, Moffat in 6th. Tom Chilton 8th, still the best of those on the hard tyre. Mikey Doble, in the meantime, fights on.
But look at that graphic, Proctor up 15 places, and a hats off to Sam Osborne up to 7th place as well. He's had a great run. He's right on the back of his pack. I do have to say that I'm guessing that Ingram's car and Sutton's car are not exactly geometrically straight as they were set up for this race after all the bashing around. There's Sam Osborne, great race. But Ingram took out half a second off Sutton just in the last sector, so I do think they're both hobbled a bit to the end.
And the gap is down to 1.9 seconds. Ingram all fired up. Now, don't forget, Ash Sutton has a good strike rate at Croft. He's had 5 wins here in the past, 46 career wins. So let's see whether he's going to add to it, or Tom Ingram, who is far less fortunate, it would appear, in terms of Croft strike rate, but right now he's pushing. He knows that he needs points for the championship, but if he can get anywhere near Sutton, he's going to have a go. But we've got about 2.5 laps to go now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ingram started off with a bit more boost. He had 8 laps of boost use as opposed to 5 for Sutton, so that will have enabled him to use that a little bit more advantageously. As we sit now, Sutton has 3 laps left and Ingram 2. So in actual fact, at the end of this lap, Sutton will be in the pound seat in terms of having the boost advantage.
Meanwhile, we've got the cars pouring their way now down through Clairvaux, down through Barcroft, I should say, and Dan Rowbottom is currently running in 15th place, but he's a lap down, so this is only for track position, not for points, not for overall places, but he's still racing as hard as he can.
So 2 laps to go and the gap is 1.7 seconds. It's basically stabilised, only a tenth of a second between them on the last lap. So I think that little flurry that we saw for Ingram was using his boost when Sutton wasn't, but Sutton now has it to the end of the race, and that should prevent him getting into any kind of a threat.
But add into this as well, Tom Ingram's now being shown a driving standards flag for track limits. So he needs to be careful as well. Senna Proctor then is mindful that he's got Gordon Sheridan behind him as he fights on for that 3rd place on the road.
I wonder if Senna's thinking, what can I possibly say when I go into the bus in defence for tapping Aidan Moffat? I mean, obviously you'll say that Aidan Moffat turned across the front of him, but they're in all big black lines being left by the cars through Jim Clark S's there. But it's a shame because it's been a fine drive, and there may well be some after race discussion about that.
I think you are probably right, and it won't be the only one that will detain the Clark and Corsi and Watson for quite a while. He'll want to look at that Camish incident as well, won't he? Right then, Proctor 3rd, Gordon Sheridan 4th, and he'd like a podium as well, on merit, never mind if there's any penalty to come to Senna Proctor. Gordon wants to do it on the track. Here they come out of the hairpin, but the leaders are about to start the last lap of the race now. So over the line goes Sutton, goes Ingram, and the gap's gone up again, 2.1 seconds.
Yeah, because he's using the boost on these last laps. He's got this one under control. And what a race it's been. This has been one that you can't remember everything that's gone on. You need to read. If people ask me what's a touring car race like, I'll say watch this one.
Absolutely right. Now there is Sutton then on his run up towards Tower. So there you've got Ash Sutton, race leader, and it looks as though he's going to have a 5th of the season. Ingram goes through 2nd, Proctor and Sheridan still fighting for 3rd, 5th Adam Morgan, 6th it is Aidan Moffat, and in 7th place it is Sam Osborne having another good run, his best result of the year of 5th, but again it's really encouraging to see Sam up there. Yes, you'll say, some of you, lots of people dropped out in that first lap tangle, and yes, it's down to the tyre, but he's a much improved racer than he was even last year.
Yeah, look at his pace, he's up there with quick guys. It's not like they've gapped him hugely, but this man will be pleased and relieved to get this win after the way his day started with puncture in race 1. He's driven fantastically to get this result, but he'll be disappointed to see his nemesis right behind him.
It is going to be win number 6 at Croft and win number 5 of this season for Ash Sutton, who accelerates towards the checkered flag and a 47th career win. Sutton wins race 3 at Croft. Tom Ingram is 2nd, and 3rd across the line is Senna Proctor. Then it's Gordon Sheridan ahead of Adam Morgan, and Aidan Moffat is going to round out the top 6 after a tough race. Mikey Doble's had a tough day as well, and he's still fighting as he gets up the inside and into the side of Dexter Patterson. Clatters his way up the inside. Is he going to force the issue and stay ahead or give the place back? He's going to be ahead as they cross the line, and that's another one we'll get looked at possibly at the end of the day. But hey, it's race 3, and it's kind of what you expect.
That was a touring car race.
Was it ever? And Ash Sutton, just underlining, and we said it at the start of the day, never give up. Okay, a bad first race, but it's not the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one that said it after race 1. Ash Sutton for a race 3 win. You know, you reverse engineer your weekend, but he certainly will be disappointed to have lost the points in race 1. But boy, what a race that was. Epic, an epic touring car race.
And a lot of hard luck stories for many. In the end, we had 15 of the 21 starters finishing, and one of those was a lap down. It's a good job as a fortnight break, isn't it? Because there's going to be quite a lot of repair work, not only because of a few cars with dents in, but also substantial damage to those 3 that we lost in that safety car inducing accident, the Camish, De Leon, Smiley contretemps that looked as though it was triggered by Charles Rainford tagging down Camish. Well, yeah, what a day's racing, what a race, what a drive though by Ash Sutton.
It may take 2 weeks to sort out the judicials before Knockhill, but yeah, I mean, look, 2 fabulous drives from Ash Sutton in race 2 to come through all the way to 5th, and in race 3 to force his way to the front. You know, I mean, he and Ingram are just the consummate professionals of touring car racing. They really are. But whatever one does, the other one finds a way. But there won't be many points between them.
And again, Ash Sutton underlining, you know, how you go about a touring car weekend, a touring car season. Okay, you've had a bad race, right? Move on and start to factor in how else you can salvage points, and ultimately a race win come the end of the day. Round 18 of the championship won by Ash Sutton. Tom Ingram second and Senna Proctor taking third. Fourth going the way of Gordon Shedden ahead of Adam Morgan. Aidan Moffat sixth ahead of Sam Osborne, with Tom Chilton in 8th. Aaron Taylor-Smith 9th and Mikey Doble 10th. And Chilton's 8th, the best of those on the hard tyre. Dexter Patterson 11th. And the battle between him and Mikey Doble was also for the win in the independent, so that's why that was doubly important. Max Buxton, a really good 12th to round out his first touring car race day ahead of Charles Rainford 13th. Nick Halsdale ahead of Dan Rowbottom, who was a lap down after his pit stop. We lost Nick Hamilton, James Dorlin, Stephen Jelly, Dan Camish, Chris Smiley, Darryl De Leon, and poor Dan Lloyd never got into the race. So, drama all the way through the day, and in the championship, Tom Ingram 8 points ahead of Ash Sutton, but just look at the margin before you get back to Dan Rowbottom. 78 points adrift. Then it's Dan Camish 4th, Tom Chilton 5th, Adam Morgan 6th. Jake Hill not racing today, he drops to 7th. Charles Rainford 8th, Josh Cook not racing today, falls to 9th, and Chris Smiley, after a tough day, rounds out the top 10.